Hello there, I'm Samuel Clark, and this is Let's Talk Trash. Today, we have 4 guests who are going to talk about preserving food by buying what you need and eating what you buy. Now, let's go to one of our interviewers, Paul Medrud, who is with our first guest, Katie Rains. Take it away, Paul.
Hi, welcome to Let's Talk Trash. I'm Paul Medrud, and today I'm joined by a special guest, Katie Rains. Hi, Katie, and welcome to Let's Talk Trash.
Hi, Paul. Thank you.
So, when we throw away food, what are we wasting?
We're wasting a lot of money, and we're wasting a big opportunity to feed more people in our community and to grow healthier soil.
How much is a household wasting per month in money?
The average household is throwing away $130 to $230 worth of food every month that could have been eaten.
That's a lot of money per household. I wish people did know how much they are wasting. How much are we throwing away that goes to the landfills? How much does it cost us as citizens?
Around the country, nationally, we're wasting $125 billion worth of food. If we would have had to pay for it, or most of us did have to pay for it, we would have had to buy it for $125 billion. And that's just around the country. It would have been $750 billion around the world.
That is a huge amount of money that we are wasting. What would be some major problems that we would face if we kept this up?
We're starting to face some of those problems already. There are so many resources that go into growing good, healthy food. The healthy soil, the water, all the transportation, storing it, all of our perishable food. We have to use power to refrigerate it. All of those resources are finite, and the more that we grow and waste and don't eat now, it actually drives the cost of food up over time. So those resources, this year in particular, we haven't had much snow. We'll see less water in the Northwest than we normally would. We may have some drought here in the summer. Places like California, they're having drought now, and that's going to drive the cost of food up each year. So food will get more and more expensive the more we waste.
We do have ways that we are preventing this future of higher food costs. I heard that you are an executive director of an organization called GRUB. Can you tell me more about this?
Yeah, thank you. So GRUB, we're a nonprofit here in the Olympia area, and we started our work back in 1993. So we've been doing work around growing food and growing healthy soils for 22 years. We partner with low-income families and young people to build a just and sustainable food system. And one of the ways that we do that is by teaching people how to grow their own food so that they can have a firsthand experience at how much resource goes into growing those precious foods, and getting to see what it does to the water bill and how much labor goes into it. So all of the food that we waste has an impact in terms of all of the time that people spent harvesting, growing, cleaning, preparing. We're wasting that time, we're wasting the money that paid those folks. So at GRUB, we spend our energy teaching folks how to grow their own food and how to engage with the food system. And we've actually started sharing the Solid Waste Less Food Challenge with all of our kitchen gardeners. Each year we build about 75 backyard gardens for low-income families. The threshold for that is for a single person, you'd have to make about $22,000 a year. And if you broke that out and we go back to that number of how much people are wasting, households are wasting monthly, that'd be like wasting 1 out of every $10 that you bring home. If you're in that income level where you would qualify for a free garden for every $10 you had, it'd be like throwing away $1 worth of food. Nobody can afford that.
Wow, that is really worth it in the long run. So, what we as young people do to save money and waste less food to help community and Thurston County and Washington State as a whole?
As young people, you can try to only take what you're going to eat. You can try to save what you don't eat for a later snack. You can help inform people about the Waste Less Food Challenge and helping get that word out in the community. You can help talk to people about compost. In this community and in this country, we're spending about $750 million to landfill wasted food, and that's really not the best place for it. There are some things like banana peels that we probably are never going to eat, even if we try to waste less food, but we won't eat those. And we could be turning that into compost and helping to build our soils with it instead of having to pay to landfill it. So we could turn that into something that works for us instead of against us.
Okay. Thank you, Katie. I hope we can all learn to make a difference in our community. I know I did. I took the pledge to waste less food, and I hope you do. This is Paul Medjard, and we'll be back after this break.
Let's see, grapes should actually go in the fridge, which means these will go bad in a few days. Already had a loaf of bread, so this one will go stale and moldy. And here's the kale, which will sit in the fridge till it's slimy because it's, well, kale.
The average family spends about $1,600 a year on food that is thrown away. That's not only a huge waste of resources, it's enough money to take your family on a nice vacation. Food, too good to waste.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Trash. And now, a word for a WTS professor, Cole Posher.
Hello, my name is Cole Posher, and I'm a professor at WTS. I am here to teach you about all the food that is wasted and how we can make a change. American families waste 25% of what they buy. As a nation, we waste 40% of what we produce. Here are some solutions that might help. You should eat what you can, then save the rest and don't throw it away. Scientists say eat smaller portions and allow seconds. That way you only get what you need. And don't forget, buy what you need and eat what you buy. Now let's go to Ivan in the studio.
Hi, I'm Ivan Wilson, and today I'm speaking with Robert Coit, Executive Director of the Thurston County Food Bank. It's a great privilege to have someone on the show that is so thoughtful about preventing hunger and food waste. Robert, it's great to have you on Let's Talk Trash. Tell us about the food bank and what kinds of things you do there.
So the Thurston County Food Bank's been in operation about 42 years, so we were started in 1972. We've grown a lot since then. Currently we serve about 15,000 households, about 47,000 individuals. It's about 20% of the county's population. Our mission's pretty straightforward. Our mission's to end hunger for the people living in our community. And we do that in a variety of ways with a number of different programs.
What are some negative social impacts that you think are caused by wasting food and hunger?
So one of the biggest tragedies in the modern world is the amount of food that we waste, primarily because of all the resources it takes to grow and raise food, from water to land, the gasoline to transport it, the marketing costs, advertising, storage. About 40% of what we grow and raise gets wasted, and all the resources that go into growing and raising the food along with it. As it relates to hunger, I consider that an opportunity to help end hunger, because if we can capture that food so that it's not wasted and provide wholesome food to people sooner, then we'll be able to help reduce the impact of hunger in our community.
Yeah, so for the time that you have been at the food bank, do you think the food bank has made a big difference on our society?
I would think the Thurston County Food Bank's impact has been large for one segment of our population, and we've seen that change over the years in how we do business, but also in the people that we serve. One of the big changes is that we waste less food at the food bank itself. And one of the ways was to change how we do business. So we use what's called the choice model, which allows people to choose the food that they take home. So within the different food categories, whether it's canned tomatoes or canned vegetables, you can select from what we have, just as you would at a grocery store, the vegetables you'll eat. And what that's done is eliminated regifting and food waste even at the food bank.
And on average, how many people do you think come in to get food each day?
So we serve about 250 to 300 families each day we're open. And they typically come 4 to 5 times in a given year. So last year we had a family visit us, or families visit us, 287,000 times.
Wow, that's a lot. And what made you want to dive into the topic of food waste and helping the hungry in the first place?
Well, I've always thought of wasting food, again, as a tragedy, but also as an opportunity to help feed people. If we can capture food before it goes bad, just by educating the public, working with grocers, restaurants, and the general community, we can provide more food to the food bank that we in turn can give to hungry families. And it's one of the best ways I know to help reduce the impact of hunger in our community and to help offset the costs of growing numbers of people using our services.
Yeah, so we know that people are going hungry because of food waste, but could you give us some more statistics to help us visualize what this is really, how this is really affecting people's lives?
So here in the United States, about 50 million people go hungry. They're food insecure, skip meals, don't have enough resources to buy the food they need. Another way to think about it is about 1 in 6 adults are hungry, and about 1 in 5 children are hungry. Some of the impacts of that is people spend time worrying about food. They don't sleep well at night. They don't perform well in the classroom. They don't perform well in their workplace. They tend to be more impacted by health conditions, whether it's diabetes, whether it's heart disease, because they're not able to buy the foods they really need. They're not able to eat as healthfully as they should. And so as a group, they're more negatively impacted by food and hunger.
And what do you think is the main cause of hunger in the world today?
So hunger's complicated, but one thing I think is common across the board is that it's really about resources. In parts of the world, that resource might be water, which is the difference between a nation being able to grow its own food or not. It may be about land. Think of a big city and there isn't land, so we have what are called food deserts, areas where you can't buy fresh, wholesome foods, and the only thing you can get is at a corner grocery, and it's mostly food that isn't as healthy for you as you might like. But even in this country, it's about resource, the ability to buy the food you need or to grow it yourself. And people make tough decisions. If they don't have enough money, they may choose to pay the rent and skimp on the amount of food they buy. They may choose to pay a power bill or electrical bill rather than buy the food they need for their children, or even daycare or a car payment. So food is a cash equivalent. It's a resource just as real as money.
Yeah. Well, thanks a lot, Robert. It's nice to know that people like you are out there to help us all waste less food.
Thank you, Ivan. And now, let's hear about the environmental impacts of wasting food. Here's Sam Avery.
Hello, I'm Sam Avery, and we're here with Michelle Morris, president of the SRMG, which stands for Sound Management Resources Group. So, first thing, I would like you to tell us, what is this organization about? What does it do to preserve the environment?
Thanks for asking, and thank you for inviting me here today, Sam. Sound Resources Management Group was established quite a while ago, and what we do is furnish mathematical information, statistics, and numbers to government agencies and nonprofit agencies that want to know what different choices they make with garbage have on our environment.
How does food waste affect the environment overall?
The food that we throw out has a big impact on our environment and on climate change. It affects soil, water, our natural resources, and energy. When you think about it, look how much energy resources it takes to produce, harvest, transport, process, package, deliver, and market. All those steps to bring the food to your table. Those all require energy and natural resources.
So it is wasted when we waste the food.
Exactly. That's what we're going to talk about today.
What are some biggest problems that the organization and we face today with the environment?
Well, you know about climate change. That seems to be the number one issue. Even President Obama was talking about that the other day. So 25% of the the methane gases that we emit comes from uneaten food. Food that we throw away, not counting the production of all the food. So scraping your leftovers into the garbage bin has a direct effect on climate change.
Is there anything else you would like to tell us about climate change and environment?
Sure. Well, methane gas is a greenhouse gas, and greenhouse gases affect our climate, are responsible for climate change. And methane gas is 25 times stronger than carbon dioxide in trapping heat in our atmosphere, and that's what's causing global warming, or one of the reasons that we have global warming. So I'm looking at my notes here because I'm using a lot of numbers and I don't want to get confused or confuse you. So the carbon footprint of food produced, excuse me, and not eaten is estimated at 3.3 billion tons of greenhouse gases each year. So imagine if that food wasn't wasted, how much we could reduce in greenhouse gases right there.
Probably about as much percent as we waste today.
Well, another way to look at it is America and China are the worst greenhouse gas emitters. But if uneaten food in the world was a country, it would be the third worst emitter. Those numbers are kind of astonishing when you think about that.
How can we help the environment?
Well, we can start by not wasting food.
True.
So just to give you a little bit more information about the impacts that we have, 10% of the total U.S. energy budget is used for transporting food. 10%. And 50% of all the land in our country is used for producing food. 80% of all the fresh water we consume in the U.S. is used to produce food.
Oh, no.
So all those resources go to producing food. Yet we throw away 40% of all the food we make. So think of the waste there.
That will be a lot of waste.
That is a lot of waste. That's about 20 pounds per person per month that we throw away of food.
That must be a lot of money.
A lot of money, a lot of resources, and it's not necessary.
So what about this jar that you have brought with you?
What about my jar? Well, how much water do you think it takes to grow an almond? I have this little almond.
100 gallons.
1 gallon of water to produce 1 almond. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. For a hamburger, do you eat hamburger?
Yes, I do.
You do eat hamburgers. For a hamburger, let's say a pound of hamburger, how much water? 2,500 gallons of water.
Wow, that is a lot of water wasted on beef.
Thank you. It's also 16 pounds of grain that go into that hamburger. That grain could be used for other purposes also. For a pound of lettuce, 15 gallons of water. So my point is, we use so much water in producing our food, and then to think that so much of it is going directly into the garbage, it's a little upsetting.
1 almond and 1 gallon of water.
Yeah.
Imagine the whole pack of almonds. That'd be wasting about a big bucket of water.
Very good.
And when half of those
Very
are thrown
good.
away, the half of the gigantic bucket of water is wasted. So it's not the food that we waste, it's also the resources we used to grow the food, we also waste too.
That's right. Thank you, Sam. And that's what people don't think about when they're throwing their food away. And that's why we're sitting here today talking, so that people become a little bit more conscious about what goes into that hamburger and that French fry that they're eating. And maybe they won't throw it in the garbage.
Well, thanks, Michelle, for so much info on food waste and preserving the environment. We hope that you will be back with Talking Trash again.
Thank you, Sam.
My best friend Sam just got turned into a burger, but no one even ate him. I feel bad for him. It takes 2,500 gallons of water to produce 1 pound of beef. A cow like my friend Sam weighs 1,500 pounds. That is over 3,750,000 gallons of water, enough to fill almost 6 Olympic swimming pools, and 40% of that is wasted. Crazy, right?
Welcome back to Let's Talk Trash. I'm Paul Medred, and this is Sam Avery.
Hi.
We have a very special guest with us today, Terry Thomas. Terry, what do you and your team do?
Well, we work for Thurston County Solid Waste, and we are the waste reduction team. So it's our job to help the community, the residents and the businesses, reduce the amount of waste that they create.
So how did you become a member of the Thurston County Solid Waste?
Oh, a little bit of school, and then I was doing the same kind of work for the Department of Defense over in Greece, and then I was working for Ventura County down in California. But I'm from Washington, so when this job came up 9 years ago, I wanted to come home.
Can you tell us about solid waste reduction and why it happens?
Well, we produce a lot of waste as a country. We buy a lot of things and we throw a lot of things away. It's a really waste of resources. It's very hard on the environment. It's costly throwing all that stuff away and getting more. So we're trying to help the community figure out ways to stop that.
What is the impact of food waste on the economy or society?
Well, it has a lot of impacts: social, financial, and environmental. So on the social front, it just doesn't make a lot of sense when, as a nation, we're throwing away 40% of the food that gets produced, but there's 50 million people that are hungry in the country. Financially, the average family spends about $130 a month on food that they just turn around and throw out. That's basically, if you bought 4 bags of groceries, you might as well throw out one as you're walking in the door. So that's a lot of wasted money. People could do other things with their money. And then environmentally, it's all the land and water and chemicals and energy to produce the food and transport it just to throw it away.
What do places like Ventura, California or Greece have to do with waste reduction?
Well, the government has waste reduction programs, so I was working on that in Greece, and that was just to make sure that the bases didn't produce as much waste and, handled their hazardous waste properly. Ventura County, California has an active law, AB 939, so they have to reduce 50% of their waste, so they had some pretty aggressive waste reduction programs down there.
How does your company exactly reduce food waste?
Well, the food waste project just really started last year. People think that composting is a really good answer, but that's what we do with the waste. We would rather see you compost it than throw it in the trash. But what we realize is there's a lot of edible food that's actually being wasted. This is food that people should be eating. And we wanted to start working on that. So the first thing we wanted to do was let the community know, the shoppers, the consumers, to let them know about how much waste they're producing at home, of food that they're paying for and then throwing out. And then we're going to start bringing awareness about what's going on at the stores and the farms and the entire food system, because there's a lot of waste throughout the entire system.
Can you give us some tips for waste reduction?
I can. The average consumer throws out 25% of the food they buy, and there's a lot of reasons that happens. But we've organized it into 4 categories: smart shopping, smart prep, smart storing, and then smart eating. So if you shop, you have to know what you have in your home first before you go to the store and buy more. And then you have to plan your meals and shop with a list. Always know how much you need, what you need, before you just bring things home and then don't know what you're going to do with it and waste it. And then when you get home, it's really good to prep a lot of your food, because I think you've seen your parents do it, is they may buy something, but they didn't cut up the vegetables, or the chicken sat in the refrigerator too long and went bad, or there was freezer burn on the meat in the freezer. So, preparing the foods when you get home, make them really convenient when you're ready to eat them. So you'll go to the fridge and eat the chopped carrots rather than going into the pantry and getting the bag of chips, so you can end up eating healthier too. And then storing smart. A lot of people don't know how to store foods properly. There's some fruits that like to be on the counter. There's some that like to be in the fridge. Your fruits and vegetables don't like to stay in the same place. There's a lot of things people don't know. Or just storing things in clear containers so that you can look in the refrigerator and see what you actually have, So there's not, at the end of the month, a bunch of mystery food in the back of the fridge that went bad. And then eating smart, just using what you have. A lot of people have leftovers in their refrigerator, or half a tub of cottage cheese, and they forget about it. So we tell people to kind of strategize what they're eating to make sure that they're using the things up that need to be used right away.
I have this really hard question. It's a why question.
Okay.
That we've been longing to ask all this time. Why does food waste happen?
Why does food waste happen? It's really interesting. Since the 70s, we waste 50% more food than we used to. And I think it's just because food prices are relatively inexpensive. People have developed busy lifestyles. They're doing a lot more things. They're not cooking as much at home. So there's a lot of reasons food is wasted at home. Along the food chain, when you're growing things at the farm, stores like to only buy the perfect peach, the perfect carrot. So nature doesn't grow always perfect food. There may be a blotch on an apple, or the carrot's a little crooked. Those don't usually get sold. So the stores want to have the best possible display, so they're only selling the really perfect foods. All those other ones are getting wasted. 60% of peaches that are produced don't even make it to the store. Those are all being wasted. So all those resources are being wasted. And then the stores always have really, really full shelves, or they have perishable food. And if it doesn't get sold in time, they just throw it out. So we're trying to make sure that the stores are getting food to the food banks. So we've been working with that program as well. But the beginning of this program is just trying to get people to change some habits at home and pay attention. It's funny, you wouldn't go out and spend money on a new pair of jeans and wear them once and throw them away, because they cost money. But we regularly throw out food and we just don't think about it because it's, half a loaf of bread here, or, half a vine of grapes there, and we just don't add it up to think about how much food we're really throwing out.
Well, thanks very much, Terry. I hope you will be back to talk trash with us again. And back to you.
Well, thank you for watching Let's Talk Trash. I'm Samuel Clark. See you next time, and I hope you will join me in the pledge to waste less food.